All right, these are the notes for 2.4. Now I'm going to give you some information. Instead of you taking the equation and graphing it, I'm going to give you information or give you a graph and ask for you to write the equation. So up here, it gives you the vertex form. A is if there is a vertical stretch or shrink. Also, it becomes negative if there's a reflection. And then for vertex form, you put the vertex, h and k, in. So you'd have an x minus h, all in parentheses, and squaring it, because that makes it the quadratic. It makes it shape of a parabola, which is the u. And then the k at the end, plus or minus, based on whatever k is. So if k is negative, it'd be a minus, and if it's positive, it'd be the plus. Now, if I give you the vertical stretch and the x-intercepts, then you're going to put it into intercept form. A, and remember A is negative if there's a reflection. And then you say, you'd put in x minus p, where p is an intercept, and x minus q, and q is the other intercept. Remember, whenever it's grouped with x in either one of these, you will put the opposite sign. So if my intercepts are 3 and 6, I'd have an x minus 3 and an x minus 6. So, and this is still a quadratic, still a parabola, and that'll be shaped like a U, because if I were to multiply this out, I would have an x times x, which gives me that x squared. So both of these would have x squared, so that's how I know it is that shape. Write an equation for the parabola in vertex form. So we're going to use this form. Our answer should be written like that. So this tells me I have a vertical stretch. So that means A is 2. And then for vertex form, I need the vertex, which is right there. So I'm going to write y equals, and we always have the A first, times x minus h. And in this case, h is a 2 and k is a negative 2. So it's be x minus 2 squared. And then you have a minus 2 on the end, because that would be, it's plus k, but it's plus a negative 2 would make minus 2. Okay, number 2 tells us A is a negative 1/2. So I know this one's reflected, and it shows that it is upside down. But I also need that vertex for my h and k. So y equals a negative 1/2 times x minus h, which in this case is 0, squared, plus k, which is 3. So this is an acceptable equation. You also could have written it, because this is 0, you could have said negative 1/2 x squared plus 3 without parentheses, or you could have had it written just x in parentheses being squared plus 3. All of those are fine. Okay, now number 3 gives us the A, gives us the vertex without a graph. So I can plug that in. I know A comes before the parentheses, and it's x minus a negative 1, so that's going to be an x plus 1 squared, plus k, which is negative 8, so it's going to be a minus 8. So just remember, whenever you have your x, y, that's being negative 1. When I write it in, it should always be the opposite. But y and k stay. We don't change those. Number 5, we have, this says intercept form, but I want you to write them in, I don't know why I crossed that out. In one of the other problems, it's incorrect. This is intercept form. Write it in intercept form. Pretend I didn't cross that out. Okay, so this tells us we have no vertical stretch or shrink, so A is going to remain 1. And then it's reflected over the x-axis. So actually A is becoming a negative 1, okay? And then I don't care about my vertex. I want it in intercept form, so I care about these two intercepts. So it's y equals A, which is negative 1. And you can write negative 1. I usually just put a negative in front of my parentheses. And it's x minus p, so it'll be a x minus negative 4, so that makes it x plus 4. And then it'll be x minus q, so it'd be x minus 6. So there is this parabola in intercept form, okay, where this was p, this was q. Okay, and we're going to do the same thing over here. It says no vertical stretch or shrink, so in this case A is 1, and we don't even need to write that in because 1 times anything is itself. So I'm going to have an x minus negative 4, so it's plus 4, and it'll be an x plus 3, since that was a negative 3. All right, so on the next page, on number 7 and 8, I'll do the 12, well, it says 12, but it's really like the last 3 problems. I'll do those on a different video, but this gives me the x-intercepts, gives me that it's a reflection and a stretch. So I'm going to put this in intercept form because that's what it gives me. So I have y equals, the reflection always comes first. That makes it negative. Then you have your vertical stretch or shrink, which will be 2. And then I can put my x-intercepts. So I'm going to have an x plus 5 and an x minus 8. Okay, here's intercepts again. So I'm going to use intercept form, and it gives me my vertical shrink. So y equals a, which is 1/4. I have an x minus 7, x minus 10.